A. Present in the virtual courtroom, we have Mother Ms. Peterson. We have Ms. Newhouse on behalf of Ms. Peterson. We have Ms. Lowry, who is here for Ms. Kennezay, Ms. Peterson's GAL. Mr. Green on behalf of the fathers in this matter, Ms. Weddle on behalf of the children, and various agency workers, as well as foster parent, Ms. Anita Peterson. All right, and Ms. Weddle.
Yes, I would like to call Jennifer Pelevin, please. Okay. And there's been a recent caseworker change, correct?
Yes.
And you have been the supervisor for how long?
Since March of 2023.
Okay, so you're familiar with the case, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you prepared and collected reports?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, I would like to mark and move to admit several exhibits. As Exhibit 1, the case service plan with the parent agency treatment plan dated April 23rd, 2024. As Exhibit 2, the forensic fluid labs oral fluid drug testing for Ms. Peterson. And there were several dates range from January 31st, 2024 through April 8th, 2024. And then as Exhibit 3, there were some Network 180 records. There were 2 letters from Network 180 as well as a medication log.
Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
No, Your Honor.
All right, they're admitted.
Thank you. Let's talk about the children. Where's NJ placed?
NJ remains
I'm sorry, before you say that, I should indicate Mr. Fluker is also present, who is a putative father at this point, and the child is placed with him. All right, and Mr. Fluker, can you turn on your video? I think that's why I missed you. Wonderful, thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
Okay. NJ, where is he placed?
NJ remains placed with his maternal grandmother.
And you've assessed that home and found it safe, appropriate, and able to meet his needs?
Yes, we have.
Where's RFJ placed?
He was moved to Mr. Fluker's this quarter.
And how did the transition go?
It went well. He had been having visits, including overnight visits. So he moved there, I believe it was 4 or 5. And since then, he's been doing well. No concerns have been noted.
Mm-hmm. You've also assessed his home and found it safe, appropriate, and able to meet the child's needs, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Children are 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay. Medical, dental immunizations, are they up to date?
Yes, they are.
Any concerns?
No, no concerns.
Are they meeting their milestones?
Yes, they also are.
And they have sibling visits during Ms. Peterson's parenting time, correct?
Yes, they see each other twice a week.
Yep, so for an extended period of time. Okay. Let's talk about anything else regarding the children. I'm sorry that I am missed.
No, I don't believe so.
Like they're doing well. Let's talk about Ms. Peterson. What is her employment status?
She recently started a job working at Subway. She has maintained communication with the agency about her schedule as far as when she's working.
Okay, so prior to Subway, she was unemployed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Have you received any documentation?
We have not, but she just started that job recently, so I'm not sure if she's gotten paid yet.
So you'll follow up with that?
Yes, we will.
She also reported SSI. Have you received any documentation for that?
No, we have not.
So you can follow up?
Yes.
Okay. How is her support system?
Her support system continues to be minimal. Her mother is sometimes a support, but as of recently, their relationship has been rocky. So that continues to be an area that I believe needs improvement.
Domestic relation, what is her status?
She has reported that she is not in a relationship.
Okay. And she has previously reported being a DV victim, correct?
Correct.
And as far as counseling, I believe there were some letters from Network 180. Was there any indication that she was working on that in counseling?
I believe in counseling, she's working on mental health and her substance use.
But DB wasn't included, correct?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can follow up with her therapist.
Right. In terms of housing, what is her status?
She is homeless. She's been staying at Degage for about the past month, working with a case manager there. She's on several housing wait lists.
And have you provided resources for her?
Yes, we have.
Okay. How has their communication been?
She has maintained communication with the agency. I would say this quarter it remains to be hostile at times. We had, I believe it was the FTM before, let's see, before the return home, and she was quite volatile. There was another time that I dropped a child off for the parenting time visit. She was really hostile, but then at the last FTM we just had on Friday, she did a really good job being able to maintain her emotional stability, and she was calm and able to productively participate in that meeting.
And when you say she's hostile or volatile, what does that look like?
She's raising her voice, yelling, cursing. She told me to, leave. So just argumentative.
Okay. And is that often when she doesn't get what she desires?
Yes, I believe so.
And is that a concern for the agency?
Yes, it is.
In terms of her substances, she has a long history, correct?
Yes, she does.
She had multiple overdoses during the case, correct?
Correct.
She also has multiple diagnoses, correct?
Yes.
The agency has indicated, throughout the case that you're looking for intensive treatment. Are you still looking for that from her?
Yes, I think due to her history, she does need to be receiving intensive treatment and demonstrating her sobriety for that.
Okay. During the case, she has not had that, correct?
Correct. She has been to rehabilitation treatment, but not successfully complete that. She's been working on her mental health and substance abuse, I believe twice a month with her therapist through Network 180.
Okay, so let's talk about that. In terms of, she's currently at Network 180, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and according to your report, it said as of February, she had limited interactions with her therapist. Is that accurate?
Yes. I believe her therapist was out on leave for a little bit. At that time, she was working with her case manager, who she's continued to work with. She sees her therapist twice a month, is my understanding.
Okay. So the Network 180 provided you with a letter that has been admitted as an exhibit, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you requested additional more detailed information from them, correct?
Yes, we did.
And they basically provided you the same letter, correct? Or substantially similar letter. Okay. So according to that letter, who does she see at Network 180?
She sees her therapist, Eric Fullen, and case manager, Dory Sullivan.
Okay. So she sees a team, and according to the letter, she sees that team multiple times a month, but the letter didn't indicate how often she sees her therapist, correct?
Correct. It did not break it down.
Okay. The letter also indicated that she was making progress and attending, but it didn't indicate, again, when she was seeing who, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What did it indicate that she was making progress on?
Let me review that. It said she had made some growth, taking accountability for her past. She's been able to maintain her sobriety. They've been focusing on the reunification with her children, working on getting her driver's license and obtaining employment.
Okay. Did it have any details regarding her goals or what she was doing in terms of substances?
No, it just said, I believe she was focusing on maintaining her sobriety.
Okay. And I believe that the agency has had communications with her therapist or her case manager. I'm not sure.
Yes, we have.
Okay. Did he indicate to you that she doesn't like to discuss her past and her trauma?
Yes, he did state that she likes to kind of look forward as of where she is now and work on that instead.
Screens, how often is she screening?
She's screening weekly,
One time a week, twice a week?
1 time a week. Yep.
And what were the results of those screens?
This quarter, there were 3 screens that were positive for THC. And we do find this a concern just due to her diagnosis of cannabis use disorder. She also missed, I believe it was 5 drug screens this quarter, which were presumed positive.
Okay. In terms of her emotional stability, she has an extensive history, correct?
Yes, she does.
She's had several hospitalizations and multiple diagnoses, correct?
Correct.
And again, the agency has requested repeatedly that she receive intensive treatment. Is she currently receiving intensive treatment?
I don't believe it is intensive. I believe she is participating in some mental health treatment, but it seems to be more of a mental health and possibly substance abuse, or I guess based on the letter, I'm not sure maybe how intensive the substance use is.
And again, that letter, did it indicate like what her goals were in terms of emotional stability or what she was working on?
I believe, let me see, I don't think it did. The letter basically talked more about, I think, kind of a summary of some of the things she might have been working on with her case manager as far as the housing and driver's license, but it did not specify her mental health or substance abuse goals.
And she has been, you indicated that she has been exhibiting concerning behaviors, correct?
Yes, she has.
Have you discussed that with the therapist or someone at the agency discussed that with the therapist?
I would have to follow up. I'm not sure if Ms. Wonger has followed up with the therapist about that or not.
I believe the report, your case service plan indicated that the therapist agreed that emotional regulation is in progress.
Yes.
Okay. Does Ms. Peterson feel that her mental health is connected to her parenting?
No, she does not.
Okay, and does she see a reason to be in therapy?
No, that was when I went a couple weeks ago to drop off the boys for the parenting time visit. And that's when she would ask me about why she needs to be in therapy, that her mental health does not, affect her parenting. She's willing to be in therapy, but has not made the connection of how her emotional stability would improve her parenting skills and ability to care for the children safely.
Since we're talking about parenting, the judge previously ordered 8 hours, correct?
Yes.
And she currently gets, I believe, 10 hours, right?
We were doing 10 hours when Mrs. Anita Peterson was supervising. I believe it was 426. Ms. Anita Pearson did request that the visits go back to DHS where they were previously, as she and Ashley Peterson were not getting along. And so just due to staffing, we were looking at going back down to the 8 hours a week.
Okay. Let me slow you down just a minute. Her visits were originally at DHS for security reasons, correct?
Correct.
And at some point in time, they moved and Miss Anita Peterson was supervising them at Miss Anita Peterson's home, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And then you say that she requested that they be moved due to relational issues, right?
Yes.
And so
yes.
then they went back to DHS for security reasons, correct?
Correct.
Has she been attending her visits?
Yes, she has.
Okay. And there's been some recent change requests due to her schedule?
Yes, when she initially got the job, we had to shift a little bit, but I believe now she's been able to talk with her employer to have Mondays and Wednesdays off to accommodate her schedule with visits.
Good. And she can generally meet the needs of the children in visits?
Yes, she can.
Okay. And the behaviors that you mentioned, have they occurred in front of the children?
Yes, they have.
I believe the report indicated that she was recently arrested. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes, she was arrested. Let me see if I can find that date. I tried to look into it. I did not see the record when we checked Access Kent. There wasn't information on it, so I'm not sure what that arrest was for.
And you can follow up with that.
Yes, I will.
Anything else regarding Ms. Peterson that I may have missed?
No, I don't believe so.
Let's talk about Mr. Plummer. What have been your efforts to locate and engage him?
Continued efforts to reach out to him, phone, mail. He continues to not respond or not participate with the treatment plan or the agency.
And will you continue to reach out to him?
Yes, we will.
Okay. So Mr. Fluker is a non-respondent, correct?
Correct.
And you've completed extensive checks on him
Yes, we have.
and deemed his home to be appropriate,
Yes, we have.
and the child is not placed with, and there's zero concerns, correct?
Correct.
There was previous discussion about, so the agency previously recommended termination for NJ, correct?
Correct.
But the prosecutor withdrew the petition, correct?
Yes.
Now the agency is recommending guardianship. Can you tell me the status of that?
Right. At this time, we have spoken with Ms. Anita Pearson about a juvenile guardianship. She did sign some of the paperwork. However, she has stated that she wants it to be a subsidized guardianship. In order for us to do that, she has to be licensed, which I don't believe she wants to be licensed. She was going to talk to Ashley's attorneys, I think more about this, but at this time, she has not moved forward with signing the paperwork for the juvenile guardianship.
Anything that I may have missed?
No, I don't believe so.
What are your recommendations?
Recommending that the boys remain temporary court wards under the care and supervision of DHS and its contract agencies, that RFJ remain placed with Mr. Fluker, NJ remain placed in a licensed foster home or with an approved relative. Ms. Peterson continue to comply with and benefit from her PDP and court orders. Parenting time for Ms. Peterson is supervised or unsupervised at the agency's discretion, and a review hearing is scheduled for 90 days.
Okay. And in terms of parenting time for Mr. P, Mr. Plummer, are you requesting that that be supervised?
Yes, it would be supervised, yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you. Regarding substance abuse issues that you mentioned, the incidents that were most concerning, those were months ago, right?
I'm sorry, which incidents?
Well, she talked about Ms. Weddle asked about overdoses and stuff.
Oh,
that
yes.
Was long time ago.
Yeah, those are previous report periods, not during this report period.
Okay, and Ms. Peterson addressed her issues in hospitals, correct?
At that time, yes, she was hospitalized.
Okay, and then this domestic violence that keeps coming up, that was something that was information that was given out by Ashley herself at the psych eval, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so she was honest enough to mention that, but that wasn't one of the allegations that brought this case into care. Is that correct?
Correct, it was not.
Okay, and you wanted intensive treatment. I have a witness that's going to be testifying pretty soon, but doesn't, in your understanding, Network 180 offer intensive outpatient treatment for people?
They do, but it does not appear that Ms. Peterson is participating in that. It's my understanding that she is participating with her therapist twice a month, and then meeting with her case manager separately as well.
Okay. Did you know she's meeting with her case manager weekly?
Yes, I know she's meeting with the case manager frequently, but for the outpatient, my understanding is that the intensive outpatient is usually like 3 times a week for several hours, IOP, if that's what you're referring to. And it's my understanding that she's only meeting with her therapist twice a month.
Okay, well, we'll clarify that. And then the emotional regulation or deregulation that you've seen? Specifically, there was one FTM that maybe you're referencing where Mr. Fluker was on there and they got into it regarding him taking over placement of the child. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you probably could understand why she'd be very upset about that, and their issues between themselves go back a while.
Yes, they do.
And he also participated in that banter back and forth, correct?
Yes, he did.
And we ended it early because it became unproductive?
Yes, it was.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Green.
Yes, first, just to be clear, on page 3 of the case service plan, you emphasize that the reunification is certainly with Mr. Fluker at this time, correct?
Correct.
And then your testimony today, as well as comments on page 9 of the case service plan, underscore that you have no concerns about his housing or parenting of RFJ, correct?
That's correct.
Furthermore, to give a good example of that, he's engaged certainly with typical fatherly kind of tasks, such as toilet training and things of that nature, correct?
Yes, he has.
Okay. In terms of, there seems to be some commentary in the case service plan about the exchange of RFJ. So RFJ is currently residing with Mr. Fluker, correct?
Yes, yes.
And in terms of Ms. Peterson getting time and schedule, there is an existing schedule for when she has parenting time, correct?
Yes, there is.
All right. And there have been several occasions in which she's asked for a change in parenting time. Is that fair to say?
Yes, the past couple of weeks when she got her new job, we did have to move parenting time around, but I believe she has now worked with her employer to have availability for the regularly scheduled times.
Okay, and Mr. Fluker has been flexible about that, hasn't he?
Yes, I believe there was one visit that he was not able to accommodate, but otherwise I think he's been able to work with the schedule changes.
Right, and that the only non-accommodation was because of a family funeral in which family was all together, and he certainly wanted family there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So just to be 100% clear and to round this out, there are no concerns with RFJ being with Mr. Fluker, and everything is going well. Is that fair to say?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Weddle, any follow-up?
No, thank you.
Ms. Newhouse, any follow-up?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any further witnesses, Ms. Weddle?
No, thank you.
Any witnesses, Ms. Newhouse?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to call Dory Sullivan. And what type of program is she involved with? Is there a name for it at Network 180?
Yep, she is in the targeted case management services.
Okay. And typically, what type of individuals are involved in that program?
Typically, it's individuals that have been identified as having a severe mental illness.
And how long has your team been involved with Ms. Peterson?
I believe that she has been in this program since October of 2022.
Okay, and we
Could you sorry, hold on. Could you repeat the name of the program again? I'm sorry, I didn't get it all.
Targeted case management.
And she's been involved in that since October of 2022, you said?
Correct.
All right, let's talk about the last quarter. Well, first of all, you did write a letter to whom it may concern, April 19, 2024, kind of outlining your work, your team's work with Ashley. Is that correct?
Correct.
I could barely hear you. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Ashley also works with a therapist by the name of Eric Fullen. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you kind of tell us what her involvement is with Network 180 and the targeted case management program? Let's talk about in the last 3 months.
Sure. So the targeted case management model, it's a team approach where Ashley meets with prescribers, so our psychiatrist or nurse practitioner. She meets with case manager and she meets with a therapist. She is meeting with the therapist as often as his schedule allows. He was out on some paternity leave earlier in the year, and she has been meeting with me at this point almost weekly, and having phone contacts and having case management appointments.
Okay, and then I would imagine Mr. Fullen talks about what working issues are going on in therapy?
I believe, I'm not, in the therapy sessions, but I believe that they're talking a lot about how Ashley can move forward and kind of cope with the traumatic experience that this has been for her.
And do you know if he works on the emotional regulation piece that was talked about a little bit earlier?
I'm not aware of what exactly is being talked about in the therapy sessions.
Okay, but you have talked with him, correct?
Yes, yes.
Is she making progress with him?
Yes.
Okay, and then when you work with her, what are some of the issues and barriers that you work with?
Ashley and I have been working on various things in our case management appointments. She's been really prioritizing locating housing, employment, reinstating her driver's license, and securing benefits. And she's extremely motivated working towards all of those goals. Having stability as far as housing and employment goes is really critical to her mental health and stability.
And how do you know she's extremely motivated?
She's showing and presenting to all of her appointments early. She does outside work outside of her appointments, as preparing documents, completing tasks outside of her appointments on her own. She reaches out to me when she needs additional support. She comes prepared to each of her appointments with things that she'd like to talk about, concerns that she has, and she's well prepared for all of our appointments.
And the substance issues, you're aware that she has substance issues in the past?
Yes.
How does your program work with that?
So she had been screened through Network 180 to go to Our Hope Recovery, which she participated in August of 2023. And we have been monitoring her sobriety since then. She's been able to maintain her sobriety since participating in that program. I know that her and I have talked about, sometimes the temptation to use substances, especially during stressful situations, but she has been able to acknowledge the temptation. And I think that's huge improvement from where she maybe was at a year ago. She's been able to acknowledge that and talk through that and really coming up with different ways to cope, and understanding that the consequences of substance use would put her further away from her goals.
And you're aware that she's had a few positives for THC?
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Okay. So going forward, what's the plan to keep the program going the same as it is, or are you going to establish new goals, or you tell me?
Yeah, we are going to continue to work on all of these goals, things like housing right now, especially in the current housing climate in Grand Rapids. It's very difficult to obtain housing, but Ashley is on every waiting list and working everything that she is eligible for. So we'll continue with housing. We will continue working towards securing her driver's license. And she's also identified working on budgeting, so that she wants to, save money from her job, and continuing to work towards her ultimate goal of reunifying with her children.
Okay. And do you think that goal is realistic?
I do.
And when you say she's extremely motivated, what are her motivations?
Her children,
That's
100%.
been, okay. You don't get into parenting or anything like that in your program?
We talk about Ashley's children constantly. She's showing me pictures of them. She's talking about them. She's talking about her desire to be with them. I mean, she lights up when she's talking about her children, tells me stories about them. They really are her main motivator. And she is extremely motivated to, secure housing, secure employment, so that way she can work towards reunifying with her children permanently.
All right. And have you seen evidence that you believe she can provide for her children in a safe manner?
I do.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Ms. Weddle.
Yes, a couple of follow-up questions. So in terms of Ms. Peterson's substance use, you said you were not aware that she had some positive screens, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then you indicated that she had been to Our Hope. Are you aware that she did not successfully complete that program?
I am.
Okay. You indicated that she has been in this program since October 2022. She has not been consistently in the program, correct?
I would have to double check the records.
Okay. And then as far as her therapy is concerned, you said that she's attending as often as he's available. So you don't know how often that is, or?
Yeah, she is meeting at this point twice a month. We have very
And you don't know how long that has been, do you?
Oh, I could check the record, but I believe she's been scheduled for twice monthly appointments for the past 6 months.
But according to the report that was entered, as of February, she had been inconsistent, and you said that he was out on paternity leave. So you're not aware of how long that she's been doing that, correct?
I could double check for you. I know at least since January, and I can't speak to her therapist's exact schedules. I don't always know why he is out of the office, but there's been
okay. I'm just indicating that if you can't speak to his schedule, you don't know how often she's meeting with him, correct?
Well, I can see in the record how often she's meeting with him for the past couple of appointments. Yes.
For the past couple of appointments. Okay. And then you indicated that you are not in those sessions, so you don't know what they discuss in terms of substances, emotional stability, correct?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Green.
Yes, Ms. Sullivan. In your program or in conjunction with Mr. Fullen, do you deal with her emotional stability, which has been a concern expressed throughout this hearing?
Yes, Ashley works with her therapist on emotional regulation.
Okay. And this program started in October of 2022, or her involvement in it, correct?
Yes.
I guess then, after incidents such as escalated comments as expressed by the agency worker or the agency worker supervisor, Ms. Palvin, or at the FDM in which she verbally attacked Mr. Fluker for his appearance, occupation, and past, and I'm citing the case service report, page 3. Is there a way, do you process this? How is that going? I'm just kind of curious.
As far as I've been talking with her therapist, she has been making some progress with that, but as the exact details of, if they're talking about these specific incidents, I don't know. I can't speak to that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Newhouse, any follow-up?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Any further witnesses, Ms. Newhouse?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Any witnesses, Mr. Green?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Statements, Ms. Weddle.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I have spent a significant amount of time on this case, maintaining contact with the agency caregivers, attending meetings. I've been able to visit with both of the children. I visited NJ in his placement. He continues to do well with his grandmother, and I always tell the caregivers how much I appreciate them because they modify their entire lives in order to care for these children. In terms of RSJ, I was also able to visit him with his in Mr. Fluker's home, and he is doing well. It appears he is adjusting well, and he is doing great in that placement. Ms. Peterson, unfortunately, I don't see her participating in the intensive treatment regarding her substances and mental health. She is at Network 180, but unfortunately, even the person from Network 180 couldn't really testify to what she's doing in therapy, which is a concern. Also, the positive screens are a concern. Her emotional regulation has been a huge concern in terms of the recommendation. I believe that supervised parenting time is appropriate. Your Honor, these children are very young and they have been in care more of their lives than they've been out of care. I do believe that it's in their best interest to have some type of permanence and finality and stability. But unfortunately, this is the situation that we're at. I believe that, termination for an adoption for NJ would have provided him with that. Guardianship does not. And unfortunately, we're no further along with the guardianship in that matter. And these kids just continue to linger in care, which is an unfortunate situation. I have nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sometimes I feel like I'm on a different case than Ms. Weddle. I think that Ms. Peterson has been doing a terrific job. She's been consistent. When we were here last time, termination was taken off because of her. I think I'm quoting, I have it in quotes, the awesome job she's been doing, big progress, focus on counseling. She's so focused in this program, this targeted case management program. I'm so proud of her. This has been something that she's been so consistent in, and it looks like her support is there in this group. Her mom has been a support to her, and we really appreciate all the caregiving that she's done for these children. That's not been easy. Ashley, Ms. Peterson, yes, sometimes it's her personality. I don't think we're going to change her personality necessarily, but you start talking about her children and the possibility of her not getting her kids or them going somewhere else. And yes, she gets very, very emotional about that. Part of her personality. And she's done a really good job of being able to control that and tone that down. And that's a work in progress. Since the beginning of this case, she's done a fabulous job parenting her children. When she's with her children, their needs are always first above any of her needs. I feel like I'm on a different case because I'm just so proud of the gains that she's done. And I do think that the targeted case management program does look pretty intense. She's there at least weekly with her case manager and then added to her therapy appointments. I don't know that additional therapy is even an option in that program. They have people come as often as they need be. So we would ask for a 3-month review and we'll see all the gains that Ms. Peterson makes during that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Green.
I won't engage in the conversation about Ms. Peterson. I think the documents and tests and testimony speak to that. I hope the agency continues to reach out to Mr. Plummer and tries to engage him. And I have nothing but praise and laudatory comments from Mr. Fluker, who, now that RFJ is with him, it continues to show a sterling example as a parent in terms of balancing his work and spending time with his son and doing those typical parenting activities like toilet training, being flexible when he needs to be. I'm just so proud of him. I really am. So I support the recommendations. I certainly enthusiastically support the return of RFJ to Mr. Fluker and support the recommendations. Thank you, Your Honor.
Great, thank you. Ms. Lowry.
Thank you, Your Honor. On behalf of Ms. Peterson as her guardian ad litem, I wholeheartedly support these statements of Ms. Newhouse. I know Ms. Canizet does as well. She has been a strong advocate for Ms. Peterson and pursuing her best interests. And so I think the recommendation for a 3-month review is appropriate.
Right, thank you. The court finds that the lawyer guardian ad litem has complied with the requirements of the statute, that returning either of these children, well, actually, yes, at this point, returning either of these children to a legal parent would cause a substantial risk of harm to the child's life, physical health, or mental well-being. There has been a rather tortured legal process that Mr. Fluker attempted to get a legal order or an order from the court finding that he's the parent, the legal parent of RFJ. And unfortunately, he did not serve the mother appropriately. And so that case was dismissed. So that case is going to have to be, a new case is going to have to be started. So at this point, the placement with Mr. Fluker is foster care still, since he does not have legal status. That in accordance with the statute, progress towards alleviating or mitigating the conditions that cause the children to be placed or remain in temporary foster care has not been made by Ms. Peterson or Mr. Plummer. That the child's continued placement is necessary and appropriate and is meeting each of their needs. That the needs of each of these children can be met in a foster family home. That the siblings are not in joint placement because one child is placed with his putative father. The sibling contact is occurring according to law. The court orders that the children continue in the protective and temporary custody of the court. Continue their placement with the Department for Care and Supervision. That the adjudicated respondents, Ms. Peterson, Mr. Plummer, comply with and benefit from the case service plan. The parenting time of Ms. Peterson is at the discretion of the agency to allow unsupervised or supervised parenting time. That Mr. Plummer's parenting time is to be supervised. Continue the attorneys in this matter. And I believe we have a date for the next hearing.
Yes, it is July 11 from 8:30 to 9:30.
All right, and that will be a permanency planning hearing. And Ms. Peterson, we can't have missed screens and positive screens. That stops you in the tracks right there. So those are the choices you have to make, your children or the drugs. Is there anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
No, thank